Everybody, welcome back to Power 97.5 LA, iHeartRadio, the JS Journals. I'm so excited about today because when you think of somebody that has really put in the work and is really hungry to see his worth, his name, all of the things that he has really just put into this soil continue to grow. You think of Emmy nominated
Mhm.
Emmy nominated
Okay.
journalist, writer. Everybody put your hands together for Tim Pullman is in the building.
Good to
Oh
see
my
you.
gosh. It is a pleasure seeing you. Happy 2026. I want to start this show off with how was your 2025? And if you look at December of 2026, what do you want to have accomplished?
Hmm. I'll start with the first part of the question. When I think about 2025, I had some highs and some lows.
Yeah,
Um, living in LA, we were covering these fires and we've been covering them all year,
yeah,
really. And there were some hard moments because you're looking at so much tragedy,
yeah.
and covering death and destruction.
Mhm.
And that can weigh on you and it can weigh on your mental health,
Mhm.
And so, I work for ABC and KBC, and so they were providing resources for us, those of us who are out in the field covering these gut-wrenching stories of people who
Mhm.
lost everything. So that was probably some of the low periods, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But I also think about the fact that I got married to the love of my life,
You
you
did.
know.
Congratulations. I loved it.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
that was a very high moment. And it, in my community, in the gay community, these things don't always happen. Um, you don't always find someone who is ready to be in a
Yeah.
relationship. You know, a
Tim,
lot of
Tim,
us.
Tim over here talking about me, y'all. I'm over here saying that's what it was. That was a little dig, but no, I love you. No,
Okay, a little shade there, a
but
little
it was a little
shade.
shade that no, no.
A little shade, but seriously, like it can be really challenging
Yeah.
in the gay community to
No,
find someone
absolutely.
who really is aligned and one has the same goals and the desires that you have to be in a relationship. And so I was so lucky to find, my husband and marry him
Yeah.
in 2025. And then also NABJLA, the
Listen,
Baltimore
come
chapter,
on. Come
you
on,
know,
recipient.
that was a big
That was
surprise.
huge.
They
Huge.
awarded me Outstanding Impact in Journalism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you were there. I broke down. I got
Broke
emotional.
down. It was a beautiful speech.
Thank you. And it was sort of ad-libby. I kind of knew where I was going. I
Yeah.
had my bullet points, but I spoke from the heart. And I just thanked the National Association of Black Journalists, LA, for seeing me in this moment. We just talked about the low points, you know, covering, destruction. And I look back over my 20-year career and, there's been some struggles. And
Yeah.
so to be able to come to this side of my career and have an industry organization say, we see you,
Yeah.
love what you're doing, keep doing it, and to honor me in such a big way, I was just amazed.
No.
Now, to the other part of your question, 2026, I have been writing. I've been writing a little bit about my story, my coming out journey in TV news. And so I've been writing a fictional story loosely based off of my coming out experience. All right. And so my hope and dream is that that manuscript will catch the eye of a literary agent and they will say, yes, I want to work with you and I want to get this book published. So that
Yeah.
is my goal for 2026.
That is the goal. And I think what's beauty around that is it's going to come to full fruition. You have an amazing story. Pearson County,
A person.
person, you say, look, look, I feel like, people back in North Carolina, we always say it all many different ways.
Yeah.
And
Like Durham. People say Durham
Durham, right, Durham, I'm
or
like,
Durham.
it's Bull City at the end of the day, always.
Yes,
But when
yes.
you think of where you're coming from, right, just north of RDU, what did that environment teach you really about people and power and being seen and or being unseen?
I would say that I come from a very rural, conservative area.
Yeah.
Roxborough,
Hmm.
Madison County. All
Hmm.
right. And so I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me doing well
Yeah.
outside of preachers
Right.
and
Right.
teachers. But like your executives, those white collar roles, I did not see that. And it really took going off to college, going to an HBCU,
Yep.
Winston-Salem State University.
WSSU. Okay.
Yes, Brown Pride all the way, where I got a chance to really see Black excellence in Black professionals.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that was what helped me say, okay, I can do this. Like I have a dream. I knew that I always wanted to be a journalist as a child because I watched TV news with
Yeah.
my great grandmother and my mother. So I saw Black professionals, but it wasn't tangible, like in my community
Yeah.
until, you know, TV
Yep.
and college.
Yeah. Well, and I think to your point, right? I think of your life, and for people that have had the opportunity to kind of see your life really unfold, I think of before the awards and before the national stories and all of the things. What first made you curious about journalism, right? Was there a moment where you realized this is how I can kind of serve the communities that are not being seen, or the communities or the conversations that are not being had?
Ooh, that's such a great question. I want to start with the pandemic,
Mm,
2020, just 5 years ago,
yeah.
or almost 6 years ago. I think that was like a re-energizing for me of why I am a journalist.
Yeah.
Because while everybody else was inside, I was out there covering the issues, like
Yeah.
the healthcare crisis. Uh, Businesses are suffering because people are not actually able to go to them.
Hmm.
George Floyd had been murdered.
Hmm.
So it was just a lot going on. It was like a dumpster fire. And I was able to use my platform to explain why there are racial disparities when it comes to COVID-19, when
Yep.
it comes to access, when it
Yep.
comes to policing.
Hmm.
I was able to find those stories and bring them to the forefront during the pandemic.
Okay.
Before that, what got me interested in journalism again was watching TV news and seeing people that looked like me traveling,
Yeah.
interviewing people. I mean, doing entertainment stories.
Hmm.
It's just a general, a wide array of stories.
Yeah.
Anything, I would love to do that. And to this day, I love to travel and I love to talk to people.
Yeah.
And so I know that that comes from seeing, those journalists in those early years.
Yeah. Well, and I think to your point, I love that. I remember starting the show in 2020, and I remember living in DC at the time, and how I wanted to create a platform for people just to kind of tell their stories, right?
Mm.
Because I felt like in that time we all had something to say, we just didn't know what to say. And so why not just say whatever's on your heart? And then I think it just kind of birthed into this beautiful moment of just creatives and celebrities and journalists and all of you guys that are have amazing stories. Even though you did make a wrong decision by going to WSSU, and
Oh, come on now.
I went to A&T a little bit down the street,
Oh,
we'll
I,
still
I
give you
love
credit.
Aggies.
We'll still give you credit to
Hey,
WSSU. I had a lot of family that went to WSSU. What you talked about it earlier, but what did that environment kind of shape your confidence when you think of like your voice and your sense of responsibility as a Black journalist?
I felt such encouragement
Yeah,
overall at HBCU, but
yeah,
specifically within my program,
yeah,
which I ran to that program because I was so anxious to get in the business. And
yeah.
so like my classmates and friends, my friends will tell you like Tim stayed in the mass comm department. I wrote for the newspaper, the campus newspaper. I was on the radio
Mhm.
station, our TV program, Ram TV. And people encouraged me to say, Tim, do it, do it. And I was shy, but I was ready. But I was shy. But they would say, Tim, you can do it, you can do it. And so it gets in your head, yeah, I guess I can do this,
Mhm.
And so I learned
Mhm.
very early on, do it afraid. Do it afraid. Don't care what people are going to think or say.
Do it afraid.
Yes, because people are actually looking for a leader and looking for like a hero,
Yeah.
right? And so step into it, even if you are afraid, because you are going to inspire other people.
Yep.
And so that's what I learned very early.
When you look back at young Tim, right? Young Tim entering into the local news in Wilmington and also in Columbia, what do you wish someone had told you about then?
Mm, so many things, but I wish someone told me, get a roommate. Do not try to do this on your own. Do not try to get an apartment, a car, and all this stuff on your own. Get the car, but
Yeah.
have somebody there that could help you foot these bills.
Don't let.
Okay. That was a really stressful time because I'm in my
Woo.
early 20s. I'm learning how to cook. I almost caused a grease fire in my apartment. It was just so bad, and it was a struggle to make ends meet. I was working a part-time job and working at the TV station to
Yeah.
make ends meet because what people don't realize when you are a TV journalist,
Come on, say it to the people in the back. Go
yeah,
ahead. I already know what you about to say. Go ahead.
you start at the bottom a
Yep.
lot of times. At least 20 years ago, you started at the bottom.
Yep.
And so I started as a production assistant at
Yeah.
a small ABC station in Wilmington, and I had to work my way up. So that meant getting paid minimum wage.
Right.
So I had to find another
Which is
job.
not the same minimum wage as 2026, to be
No, it was
fair.
6.25
Come on.
an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can
Who's
you
gonna make it off that?
You know what? As you say that out loud, I can never even just fathom how were we living during that time? How was groceries being purchased? How was gas being involved in a car? There was no electric vehicles and all of the wow,
Mm-mm.
aging myself. But all of the things,
Me
I'm
too.
like I was just thinking like this is it's crazy what we do for the passion and for the
Absolutely.
drive. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And no, no, you're spot on. But I was determined that I was going to do this. I knew in college
Hmm.
that this was going to be a struggle. They told you, okay,
Yeah.
you're going to do this, but just know you're not going to go to the number one market straight out of college.
Right,
You know, you're
right.
going to have to humble yourself. And so I knew that. And I had classmates that said, Tim, I can't afford to live that life. So even though they got a degree in mass
Yeah,
communications,
yeah,
they went and did something completely different
yeah.
because they just was not willing to make that sacrifice. I was at the time because again, that childhood dream,
Hmm.
my energy, my
And you
adrenaline,
said you were going to make it happen, and you did, right?
I
Uh,
made it happen.
with this interview, I wanted to do something different because there were so many people that had written in that either wanted to ask you questions during the National Association of Black Journalism event, to people that either follow your career, may see you on television. I want to get into a couple of questions and then get back to what we were talking about. First question comes from Brandon. Brandon is out of Miami, Florida, and he says, you've worked across multiple markets from the Carolinas to Florida, covering crime, courts, politics, and culture. What did each market teach you about community trust?
Oh, wow. That's so interesting because all of those communities are different,
Yeah,
right? And so when I think about Florida, Jacksonville, I covered a lot of crime.
yeah,
And Black people wanted to make sure that you were telling the full story, or at least allowing their truth to come forward. And so I did feel that pressure to build, not pressure, but I definitely felt like I needed to build strong relationships within the Black community, the leadership in the Black community, so
yeah,
that I could get their trust, so that if there is anything happening, or if there is something that contradicts what law enforcement is saying, or some other entity,
yeah.
I had that voice.
Right, right.
In Columbia, it was very political, Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh,
So I
okay.
had to build my political relationships, you
Mm,
know, people who were either fundraisers for campaigns or advisors,
yeah.
press secretaries. So I really had to build those relationships to get information.
Okay. Well, and I think of in Columbia, I think for me, when I think about your career in Columbia, you received a Media Champion Award, right, for your
Yes.
investigative reporting on synthetic drugs. What responsibility did you feel reporting on human impacting young people, especially Black youth?
Mm. Eh, You know, young people are impressionable,
Yeah,
right? And during that era, synthetic drugs, bath salts were very popular,
right.
and people were dying or getting
Mhm.
hospitalized. being admitted to the hospital. And so an organization called the Richland One Community Coalition reached out to me and said, "Hey, we want you to serve on this board because we are trying to get the message out about the dangers." And this was a Black-led organization, okay?
Yeah.
And they wanted to partner with me. And I said, sure. And so they pitched stories to me about the impacts that this is having on young people. And so I was able to leverage that relationship and pitch those stories to my team,
Yeah.
and they greenlit it.
Yeah.
And so that's the importance of being able to have a platform such as, a TV station, TV journalism,
Yeah.
that you can really get rooted in the community,
Hmm.
put those stories out there.
Well, and I think you've been voiced to so many places and people that I think when I did and we did our research, the team, we were just like we heard so many positive things just with your name associated with them. Even serving as president, right? President
Mm,
of the South Carolina Association of Black Journalists. How did leadership inside of journalism really shape how you reported outside of it?
mm. I would say being a leader is challenging
Yeah.
because it falls on you. A lot of the work, a lot of the work. And you have to motivate and inspire people to get on
Mm.
board with your vision
You do.
for the organization, and that could be tough.
Yeah.
Um, and so what I learned in that experience is that yes, in at a TV station, we work as a team. Like each player is important and we're all working towards the same goal. I oftentimes bear the brunt of how I want to shape this story and tell this story.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I
Okay.
have the resources, but I still carry that it is on me
Yep.
to get the contact, to look up get the research, the stats.
Mm.
I have a team that I can help that can
Right.
help do that.
Right.
But my first thought is, how can I lead this,
Hmm.
find this, and make this work for sure.
You did and continue to do amazing, amazing work, right? And especially when I just think of how you cover news and breaking news. When I pull this question from our deck, Nicole out of Baltimore, Maryland says, you covered the George Zimmerman verdict and the Michael Dunn murder trial. Reporting on cases involving racial violence, how do you protect your humanity while
Mm,
doing your job?
wow. Therapy is important.
Therapy is real.
And yes, in nearly every market, I've had a therapist. Okay. But I also check out. So she's talking about two big cases
Yeah.
in Jacksonville, Florida, in Orlando, that I was a part of. I knew when I needed to check out.
Okay.
So on my days off, I did something that Tim wanted to do.
Okay.
Okay. And I think that was helpful in my self-care for sure.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of journalists are like that as well.
Yeah, and I think even for me, I'm trying to find balance of whatever that looks like, because I feel like to your point, it's always like I have to have my hand in everything, and there's always going to be a breaking news. There's always going to be
Yes.
there's always going to be a red carpet. So I think being able to find that balance. But you said something paramount that as people of color, I've mentioned this since 2020 of making sure that you get some type of therapy
Yes.
for relationships, whether it's for jobs, whether it's for your own personal mental, whatever it looks like
Yes.
someone about something. So,
Absolutely. And I would also add, just in the last few years, I've meditated.
yeah, yeah.
It started my day, specifically when I'm before work, I meditate and I get quiet and still,
Yeah.
and that has been helpful. I don't do it every day. I know when I want to do it and when I need to do it.
Yeah. When I really started following you, it was a huge breaking case. And it was a
Mm.
moment that I was like, yo, this guy know what the heck he talking about in these streets. And I think of just when journalism becomes really a moral act in this case, right? In 2021, you covered the shooting death of Andrew Brown Jr. And earned an Emmy nomination with that, right?
Yeah.
What made this story different from others you kind of like uncovered or decovered, I should say?
So and I know you know North Carolina, so you know Elizabeth City is in
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Mhm.
It's very black.
It's very black.
Yes, yes. And I grab look, I love race and culture. People ask me what type of stories you like to cover. It's race and culture. And really, race and culture is in everything.
It
Okay.
is. It is.
Entertainment, education, healthcare. Like you can find race and culture within all of those
Absolutely.
entities because there's disparities.
It is.
Um, but with that particular case, you had Reverend Al Sharpton involved. You had uh was he's the attorney for literally every civil rights case. Why I'm drawing a blank. Ben Crump.
Yeah, Ben Crump. Yeah.
So when they got involved, it became very evident that this is
Big.
going to be on a national scale. This is big.
Yeah.
So this was an opportunity for me to, yes, I want raise my hand. I want to cover
Yeah.
the
I want
story.
to cover this. Right.
Yes, yes. So it wasn't necessarily me finding that story. It was already starting to garner national attention outside of Elizabeth City. And so I'm working out of Raleigh, Durham, and
Yeah.
I literally said, "Hey, let me do this." And they let me stay up there for almost 2 weeks to find stories. I was building relationships with the mayor at the time, who was Black, city council members, community leaders,
Hmm.
to get their perspective because the sheriff's office they knew the sensitivity and the heightened concern of this, but they weren't very forthcoming
With
with
information. Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
And the family, I had to make sure that I
Yeah.
got in with the family,
Hmm.
so they could trust me. And that is how I was able to get exclusive interviews with family members, exclusive information with the attorneys working the case, Harry Daniels,
Yeah.
the other guy from CNN. I've known him for years. Used to be what's Bakari Sellers.
Bakari Sellers. Yeah. Bakari.
Yes. Having those relationships with them as well. So I think the Emmy nomination is because I led our coverage for so many days, for so many weeks, just in-depth reporting. And so when we submitted that as a special, it was nominated.
Which was absolutely amazing and phenomenal, right? And I think looking at your story during that time, and just when you're reporting about police violence involving Black lives, immediately I thought about how do you, Tim, kind of navigate access and accountability and empathy without kind of compromising truth?
Access, accountability, and empathy. Okay, so I will say this, and you know this, we are dealing with a story right now about Keith Porter.
Yep.
This the a black man, 43-year-old father of two,
Northridge. Yep.
Northridge, shot and killed by an off-duty ICE agent
Mhm.
in Northridge on New Year's Eve.
Yep.
And so the empathy is for me is this is a person who has been killed.
Hmm.
You got to have some empathy for that,
Yeah.
regardless of the circumstances. Okay. So leading with that when I'm talking to the family, when I'm talking to community leaders, that I feel sad and horrible for what has happened to him. Now, what he is accused of doing, firing a weapon into the air on New Year's Eve as a part of, fireworks celebration is illegal.
It is. Yeah.
Um, and so the accountability is whenever we do this story, and in the past few times that I've done the story, is saying, hey, this is what he did. It's not legal. Family, why did he do it? Giving them that opportunity and context.
Hmm.
Accountability, this is not legal.
Hmm.
This is not something he should have been doing. Why did he do it? And then they get their opportunity to speak. I'm
Yeah.
also giving the side of the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah.
They have their position on why the off-duty officer was justified as the LAPD investigates. It's always mentioning what each side's position is,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
To keep that accountability.
Yeah. Um, how do you decompress? And I know you talk a lot about just meditation and all of the things because we're just at the beginning of the year and there's already so many colorful things that are already
Mm.
happening in the world. How do you decompress after carrying stories that are so heavy that you have actually carried in your entire career and even most recently? And self preservation for you fully looks like what? And I know travel and meditation, all of the things. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Absolutely. I also read. I also work out
Yeah,
3 days a week, going to the gym right after this interview, you know? So,
yeah.
and I'm so, and people, my friends have told me, Tim, you set boundaries. You set really good
Mm.
boundaries. And I promise, Jameer, my no is a no.
No, I keep trying to tell people no is a word in a sentence.
Baby, I have learned, whether it is with work
Yep.
or personal life,
Hmm.
I set clear boundaries.
Yep.
And if I'm not feeling something, if I don't feel comfortable with something, if I'm just not interested, no, no.
You have reported for ABC News One and now work with KABC TV after years, really, with WTVD TV. How does national exposure kind of shift the stakes of reporting?
There's a lot more eyes on you,
Yeah.
a lot more accountability, a lot more opinions on how you cover stories. Look, I don't always get it right.
Yeah.
Journalists, we don't always get it right, you know? Sometimes there is a missing piece or a missing thought that we
Mm-hmm.
might not have considered.
Mm-hmm.
And so, viewers are quick to try to find out how to contact you to tell you what you did wrong,
Listen.
through email or social media, you know? So from the national perspective, yes, a lot of attention, a lot of eyes and opportunities, you know?
Yeah.
Um, Most of my career has been in local, and I've enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of my journey because I think I alluded to earlier, back in the day, you had to start in a small market.
You did. You
Now
did.
you can be an influencer. You can be,
Mhm.
tied to fame or whatever and get ahead.
People are reporting the news on TikTok, and
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
and it's interesting just how many people will run to TikTok or Instagram for the news versus just going to their local news stations. Um,
Yes.
go ahead. I'm sorry if
I
you
I
want.
was just saying, we are in a new day.
We are in a
So
whole.
that track is no longer, I'm not going to say it's obsolete,
Yeah.
but it's no longer the one path.
Correct.
You
Correct.
can get ahead in several different lanes.
Many different
It's
markets.
fine.
Your market was beautiful though in 2016. I loved your 26. Tim was like, "Where are we going, Lord? Because Jameer, you know too much stuff. What's
You've
happening?"
done your research.
I think during that time, I was in DC and I enjoyed every moment of this. But you covered the National Museum of African American History and Culture. You had the opportunity to interview people like Oprah Winfrey and Stevie Wonder. Um, what did that moment? What did that moment represent in Black journalism?
I knew it was historic.
Yeah.
I knew it was a historic moment because you're not going to get a grand opening again of this beautiful museum
Mhm.
created by a Durham architect. Okay?
Literally, Durham, North Carolina.
Phil Freelon.
Shout out to Phil Freelon. I mean, you
Yes.
had the opportunity to even interview Phil. Like, it's
Yes.
yeah. Go ahead.
Who is no longer with us, right? So again, it's history.
It
I
is.
was a part of history,
Mhm.
interviewing the lead Black architect of the Smithsonian
Absolutely.
National Museum of African American Art and Culture,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just that's amazing. And
Yeah.
then to interview all of those, dignitaries and even locals who traveled from Durham, you
Mhm.
know, to see this moment. It's still one of my favorite stories.
It's one of my favorite stories because I think, to your point, coming from Durham, North Carolina, and seeing the history that has been birthed within just North Carolina alone, I feel like deserves way more credit than what it is.
Yeah.
You've also worked with the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. I remember being a part of that foundation whenever I was in DC, but you've also written for the Huffington Post and a lot of other outlets.
Mm.
How does print storytelling differ from broadcast in kind of shaping public memory?
Ooh. Okay. So I think with broadcast, you have that visual component,
Hmm.
right? But with print, you really have to use your words
Yeah.
and be descriptive and make salient points and poignant points
Hmm.
in your words because the visuals are just not there.
Right.
Whereas if you're covering a car chase or something dramatic, you can write literally to the video. That's kind of easy. It's an
Yeah.
easy bit.
Yeah.
But having to write from the heart about a matter and in detail, I think it requires a different skill.
Hmm. I think so as well, right?
Mhm.
I want to get into some questions. We in our Q&A space because people again heard that you were going to be on the show, and a lot of journalists kind of just wrote in. First question comes from Lisa. Lisa is out of Raleigh, Durham. Shout out to my hometown.
Right.
You are now an adjunct. I hope if you're still an adjunct for
Not at the moment, but I was.
okay, for UNC Huffman School. Is it Huffman School of Journalism?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What what do today's students, I was like, girl, let me work this out for you. What do today's students misunderstand about the industry?
Mm. I think, and I just most recently spoke to some Loyola Marymount students, journalism
Mhm.
students.
Yeah.
And so I do have that as a backdrop as well.
Yeah,
Um,
'cause we miss you. We miss you in the schoolhouse. I mean, you have so much knowledge that the people want you back. But go
and
ahead.
I think I want to go back to a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
I dip in and dip out here and there.
Yeah.
And
What's our
so it's time. But I think the students, and it's a different generation too. I think they think that it's glamorous still, which I try to remove that each time that I talk to students, because they see you on camera, they see you, got the makeup, the wardrobe on,
Mhm.
and it's not always like that.
Yeah.
You have to, we have long shifts, long shifts. Um, you're doing multiple live shots sometimes. Sometimes you have limited information. And so I just really try to tell the students that you have to work at this,
Yeah.
that, practice makes perfect because some of them want to be ready and polished right away.
Ready to go tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but take a moment. It's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what I try to when I talk to students and teach them that, look, this is a process, just like writing. You have to continue to do it to get better. With any skill, you have to
Yeah.
work at it
Mhm.
to get better.
Michael out of Los Angeles says that journalism is changing. AI, layoffs, shrinking newsrooms. What skills will define the next generation of reporters?
Mm. How good are they with connecting to digital outlets and creating their own?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Mm,
Yeah, I think legacy outlets are great, but it's becoming more and more segmented. They're
yep.
laying off. The money is dwindling. And so
Hmm.
you have the power now in this digital age to create your own
Hmm.
platform.
You do. You do. You've earned multiple NABJ statues to salute really your excellence in just journalism, and you've been named Reporter of the Year. How do you define success at this current stage of your career?
Mm, wow, that's such a good question. That is such a good question. I think staying in it
Mm,
is a level of success.
yeah.
It's not an easy, we're in a very difficult time, Jameer.
Mm,
Very difficult. And I will not mince words about that.
yeah.
And there are moments where you're like, what is happening to this industry that I fell in love with? And so, staying in it is a form of success
Yeah.
because some people, again, they're getting laid off or they're not getting a chance to have their goodbye, their retirement, et cetera. So I define success by continuing to do the good work. The awards are great.
Right.
It looks great on the resume, as you called out. But at the end of the day, I think also I want people to be able to say, Tim is a good reporter, a great storyteller. I believe what he is saying. And I don't think any award can validate me the way a viewer or someone off the street
Mhm.
would by
Yeah.
telling me what they think about my story and how I impacted them.
You always impact me, and I'm always excited just to see your next footprint and all of the things. As we get ready to wrap our show, I curated this part called the therapy session.
Mm,
I did this 2 years ago at the end of everyone's segment because I love it. It allows viewers and fans and people just to kind of see you in a different light that maybe they've never seen you. And
Mm.
sometimes y'all, Tim is a little shy. He ain't really shy, but that's what he like to tell y'all. So we about to break that fourth wall and that third wall and that eighth
Oh boy.
all of the wall. You only get a couple of seconds just to answer. So quick little Q&A. Uh,
Okay.
what's the best gift you've ever been given?
My engagement ring.
Hey, come on. Who knows you best?
My husband.
How do you cheer yourself up?
R&B music.
Shout out. Who's your favorite artist?
Oh, so many. I'm really feeling Leon Thomas, Coco Jones,
Thomas. Yeah.
Jasmine Sullivan is
Yeah.
probably my
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your biggest fear?
Dying.
Really?
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't have that fear anymore.
No.
Every day, and I know this is off script, every day I wake up to fulfill every single thing that I know that I want to do. And
Wow.
say, if this is it, I know that I've had an amazing life.
Well, I'm gonna take a play out of that playbook. My
I'm
good.
so serious, and I thought about it the other night because as life is, to your point from earlier, as life has been lifing for so many people.
Yeah.
I just did a reflection, especially at the beginning of the year, just saying, you know what? I am happy.
Mm.
Thank you, universe, for all that you continue to do. What is next on your bucket list for the next 2 months?
Ooh, for the next 2 months, I want to do some traveling, which we're going to be doing that. And I want to continue writing. Um, like I said, I'm writing this book, but I want to continue tweaking it
Mm-hmm.
as I'm putting it out to literary agents. So yeah,
You're excited about this book. Do you believe in luck?
yes,
You want to expound on that?
luck with preparation.
Thank,
Uh,
say that again.
yes,
Oh, what?
yes. I think yes, you could be you because you get ahead in life through relationships.
You do.
All right, yeah, you can
People
have a
do not
resume.
understand that piece.
Yes,
You could be the best reporter, you can be the best actress, you can be the best designer, whatever. If you build a connection with the right person, right people,
that part.
doors and rooms can open.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if you are prepared, then you'll stay in it.
you will stay in
You'll
it.
stay there.
How do you define happiness?
Mm. Happiness to me is a clear conscience, right? So for me, it's I come home from the end of the day and I'm still pleased with who I am, how I showed up in the world, how I treated people.
Mhm.
That makes me happy.
How do you deal with criticism?
I take it in, I process it, and if it's valid, I'll hold on to it.
Mhm.
If it's not, I throw it away.
You had an amazing speech during the National Association of Black Journalism event about your husband. What is one word he would say to describe you if he was on that stage?
Oh, you're stumping me because I can think of a couple of words. Um, he would say that I'm genuine,
Mhm.
that I'm kind, and he would also say, see, I'm trying to go into trying to keep it positive. I'm gonna keep it positive. Almost went there. Um,
Listen, if y'all don't know his husband, y'all know he would have went there. Just
no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say
You're
that.
not gonna
He
say
would
that.
say that I'm genuine and that I'm kind.
What makes you cry?
Ooh, injustice.
Mm. Do you believe that people can change?
That's almost asking me, can a cheater change, right? Can
Mm.
someone who's unfaithful change? Um, I think people at their core are who they are, and they have to continue to work to try not to be that devil, if that's what's in them, right? That's a long way to say, can people change? I think people can can change behavior, but I don't think that they can change the essence of who they are at the core.
That's fair. Do you like meeting new people or sticking with close friends?
That's such a good question. I'm a people person.
Hmm.
but I prefer on my day to day to be around my closest friends.
What is love?
Love is love is unconditional. Love endures. Love is a choice.
You've had a beautiful career in building credibility with so many newsrooms and people throughout the world, from bearing witness into the Andrew Brown Jr. and national visibility and cultural memories. You have created a lot of beautiful mentorship spaces for people within the media and have built the future for what journalism really looks like. Tim, what do you want your legacy to be?
Hmm. I want my legacy to be a kind human being who showed up whenever you asked them to show up for you. I want to be known as someone who was a good friend, a good husband, and a good storyteller.
I normally ask my last questions, but I decided to pick one from our bunch, and it comes from Monica. Monica is out of Sacramento. She says, finally, what keeps you hopeful about journalism even now?
I think what keeps me hopeful is that we are constantly going through change.
Yeah.
And so even though things feel weird right now, they have felt weird before. Over this 20-year career, I have seen change throughout this industry. We take two steps, we take a couple of steps back, we go in this direction, and then we revert back. So I just feel like change, knowing that this too shall pass,
Yeah. Yeah.
keeps me hopeful.
Um, I wanted to leave you with a quote that you said in 2021 that I thought was remarkable. You says, a great reminder of how far we've come and yet so far to go. Thankful to have life, faith, love, family, friends, you, and a career that I have dreamed about as such a little boy in my small hometown of Roxborough, North Carolina.
Wow.
Any last words you want to leave with any of your fans, followers, people that
Oh
followed
man.
your career? Any last words?
See, you almost making me cry now. You're almost making me cry.
It's a beautiful thing to have us reflect on our life,
Yeah,
kind of see
yeah.
where we have come from, where we're going, and what footprints we're
Mm.
leaving for the future. That little boy from Roxborough, North Carolina.
Yeah. Why are you making, oh my goodness, my tears are coming.
Look
I
at your, look at
have,
your, man. Look at,
yeah. I was a little gay boy in Roxborough, North Carolina, right?
yeah.
Where that was not okay. That was not okay. And, being bullied, and I never would have thought that I would be where I am today after having experienced what I experienced as a child. Okay. And so my goal always is to protect that little boy. And for a long time, I would have a photo of myself as a kid that I would look at and say, I'm protecting you. You're okay. Because of,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
challenges of being Black and gay. And
Mm.
so I think I'm proud of myself for getting through all of that, to know that I can tell somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
just like me, that
Mm-hmm.
it gets better.
Yeah.
Don't give up. It gets better.
Where can everyone follow you and ask questions and all of the things? I know you're on social media, Instagram at ABC7Tim. Where else can people reach out to you? What do you have going on that people can support you? How can we continue to fill your heart?
Mm. Reach out to me on Instagram. That's like my primary communication form, ABC7Tim. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me easily there, Tim Pulliam. And that's where you'll see where things are going on. I also have a website, www.timpulliam.com.
Tim, I appreciate you always, as we say on Power 97.5 LA, iHeartRadio, and Global Media and the JS Journals. Stay positive, but stay creative. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.